Next up, we have item 10, the establishment of the Waste Political Advisory Group. We've got Sophie N will come and speak to it.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Team Leader Strategic Planning Waste Solutions aho, he para kore te mahi, ko Sophie Brockbank aho. Kia ora. Through the Chair, I will be taking this agenda item today on behalf of the Waste Solutions Department. I extend apologies from Pearl Sood, our General Manager, who is unable to be here herself. To support the implementation of Auckland Council's Waste Management and Minimisation Plan, Council has previously established a Waste Political Advisory Group, including representatives from the governing body and the Independent Māori Statutory Board. I'd like to highlight an error in the executive summary of the committee report, where we have incorrectly referred to mana whenua in paragraph 2, which should read as member of the Independent Māori Statutory. The Waste Political Advisory Group objective is to oversee the implementation of the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan and provides an opportunity for discussion and informal political feedback on key regional and national issues relating to waste management and minimisation by members and staff. The Political Advisory Group is not a decision-making entity. In alignment with the Auckland Council governance structure, all decisions on the implementation of the WMP will be sought from the governing body. Staff have analysed various options for the composition of this group and recommend that the committee approve option 3, the re-establishment of the advisory group consisting of a chair, 4 councillors, a member of the Independent Māori Statutory Board, and also 4 local board members. Staff recommend that the chair of the Environment and Climate Change Committee as the parent committee be the chair of the Political Advisory Group, and staff also recommend that the group include councillors and local board members that can be representing different geographical areas of the region, including north, east, west, urban south, and rural interests. We take the report as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the members may have.
Thank you. And before we go to questions, before Alf, I just had a conversation with Daniel yesterday. You were on the group, just making sure you didn't want to be on it, or you hadn't spoken to Angela, who...
I have spoken to Angela, and she wishes you well, and she's watching this, so I better make it good. Councillor Dalton would be very keen to be on this if there was an opportunity for her to serve. I'm happy to, I was on it last term, but I'd be very comfortable to cede to her if there was an opportunity to accommodate her as part of this, and I think she'd add a lot.
Cool. Instead, is that fine, Alf, if Councillor Dalton goes on?
No problems at all. If I just say, look, I will be withdrawing, hopefully I'll get a few claps.
Thank you. No. Perfect. Yeah, I did have the conversation with Councillor Newman about potential for him or Councillor Dalton, so that's great. Thanks, Angela. Hope you're feeling better. And I don't think is there any questions? Sorry, Councillor Walker.
I was on it last term. Nobody's had a conversation with me, so I don't know why that is. Obviously, there are some things happening that I don't understand. I was also on the bylaw with Councillor Newman and helped to formulate the plan originally over some time, so I may have something to add. But I asked the general question: why exclude the numbers if more people are interested? Because sometimes it's actually quite difficult to get the numbers coming along to a meeting. I just asked that question generally.
That's probably more a question of the chair. I think my experience already is that it is hard to get people to it, and that's why the more people you have trying to coordinate diaries. The other thing is we need to be clear with local boards on how many we need, because we need to be the same as them. So if we send conflicting messages, apologies for, I was told that Councillor Newman was on it, but that was all I was sort of, the approaches I had. Councillor Cooper and Councillor Cashmore and Councillor Coombe approached me after the agenda went out, so I've had no discussion with you, and apologies for not going to you first, Councillor Walker, but I've been taking people who've been coming to me and assuming that that was the case, so thank you. Councillor Stewart.
Well, I wouldn't mind being on for the east. There's nobody there for the east, and I can't see why maybe Councillor Walker couldn't be for the up top. You know, I think if up north, I think then it would just sort of be very rounded and everybody's covered. And every ward's got a point, can get their point across. Is there a reason why we can't do that?
There is no reason, but I prefer to say with a tighter group to get things done, to coordinate diaries, to try and get 6 councillors and 6 local board members has been difficult in the past on other advisory groups and even on things for submissions recently. So, yeah, this is not a decision-making group. Everything comes back to the governing body or a committee to decide that. So I prefer to keep it at 4. If someone wants to move an amendment to add other members, that's fine. But at this stage, I'm keen to keep it at 4. Thank you. Yep.
To the earlier discussion around our climate emergency and actually getting things done. If you want to get things done, you involve people that are interested, that are passionate. I'll put my hand up in that respect. So anyway, enough said.
You cannot, but I would assume that Councillor Walker is going to say he's had questions rather than speaking turn. Yeah. Councillor Walker, you need to provide wording for your amendment.
What's the current membership set at?
You got 6 really.
No, in total, I'm assuming.
10.
10. Well, let's increase it to 12.
Well, actually, that's wrong because you've got 5 councillors up there, plus 4 councillors plus yourself, Mr. Chair, and then it says 4 local boards. So you already have to put up the local board to 5 because you've actually got 5 councillors.
Do we even need an amendment around the numbers? Let's just add some people.
So we've got an amendment. I can't take questions until there's an amendment on the board, on the table.
Could I suggest, are you talking for 2? You're talking about 5. So instead of saying 4 other councillors, you're saying 5 other councillors or 6 other councillors?
Say 6 other councillors.
Okay, that's the
Fine.
amendment. So it's 6 other councillors, and all the wording is the same. And I presume we're adding councillors Walker and Stewart. And there'll be a consequential one, unless the members don't agree, that it would also be 6 local board members then.
Is it a question to the amendment, Councillor Newman? Yes. I'll say so. Councillor Simpson first, then.
Sorry, but to be so simple, but what are we trying to achieve here? Are we trying to achieve people who want to be on this but couldn't be on this in the original A Roman numeral 2? Or is that it? Is that it? Okay, so the amendment, my second question is that the amendment is just to make sure all the councillors who want to be on it can be on it. Is that correct? Fantastic, I'm clear.
Can I just seek,
Sorry, question.
can I just seek your clarification in this amendment, which I'm happy to go along with, but the difference this term compared to the previous term is that in the previous term there was no automatic local board membership representation on this Waste Working Party, was there? So actually the amendment, if passed, brings the numbers back to roughly what they were previously, and that the additional act this time is actually the fact we're including a whole lot of local board members who weren't there in the last term.
Yes, we are including local board members who weren't there in the last term.
Are these questions or are these debating the amendment? Question, Member Wilcox.
Moment. So, I mean, you know, we're putting people on willy-nilly, so, I mean, I'm just going to say this straight up. We put mana whenua in the last advisory panel. Why aren't we doing it on this one? And why, you know, I mean, if we're going to do this, well, let's be consistent.
Sophie might be able to answer that one.
Through the chair, one of the reasons that we haven't put mana whenua up there is because when we did the waste management minimisation plan, we did quite an extensive consultation process, and the plan itself is based on a number of Māori values that are weaved throughout it. However, if there is a desire to include them in the group, then we can look at that and we can engage with mana whenua on how best to ensure that they are represented.
Well, can we put it in then? I mean, I just want consistency here. That's all I'm asking for, Chair.
So we need to deal with the amendment first. So that is not a question based on the amendment. Cool. And
Well, it would be to Councillor Walker and Councillor Watson's amendment, wouldn't it? Or what? Or am I putting another amendment?
so I'd like to deal with this amendment first, and then I am personally happy to put mana whenua in to my original motion. It was not in the policy for this, but I do not see if consistency is important, then that is fine. So we're going to deal with the amendment. Would you like to speak to your amendment, Councillor Walker? Oh, is this a question? Yes, Councillor Filipaina.
Just a question to our staff. So if the amendment goes through and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus the chair, that's 7 councillors. Am I assuming that the same number from the local board will be asked for as well?
So through the chair, yes, if you've just seen the amendment number 3, we've just added 6 local board members, so that's the kind of consequential. Just in the, so there's 2 there, there's the 6 councillors and 6 local board members. Yeah. That would be how you do it, you balance it out.
Yeah, because I know with other, and the one from last year, we had to have, well, not had to have, but there was a suggestion by the local boards that whatever councillors we had there, the same amount of local board members need to be there. So with this amendment, we've got 7 councillors, which includes the chair. So I'm assuming that it would be 7 local board members that would be asked to be on there, and then we will have a political advisory group of 14 plus Independent Māori Statutory Board and mana whenua, so we'll have a board of 16.
Councillor Filipaina, I feel this is more of a debating point.
No, I want to make sure that that's exactly what's going to happen. That's my question. So I'm saying it's 16. That's the question, Chair. Am I correct in saying that it'll be 16 members of the advisory group? That's the question.
Plus mana whenua representation, whatever they decide that looks like, yes.
That's all I want to get through. Okay, thank you.
Lucy, did you have... We probably, I don't want to bring you into political debate, so I just don't know
Through the chair, just a point of clarification that we don't necessarily have to have equal numbers of councillors and local board members on the group. That has been the common approach for a number of the political advisory groups you've established lately, but I guess that is at your discretion. Yeah.
Although,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
although yes, Councillor Casey?
Did I move this? Sorry. I think I did. No. Yeah, I did. Could I, as the mover,
Yes.
just add in Councillor Stewart and Walker to the list?
All right, everyone. We are working on an amendment. There's an amendment on the table. I'm going to have no more debate. We're going to debate the amendment. No more questions. So, do I have speakers? Councillor Walker, could I please have
Mr. Chairman, could you rule my point of order?
your point of order? I'm the seconder of the motion. I do not allow
Okay.
the change to the original. Councillor Walker, could I please have you speaking for your amendment?
As one of the movers for the amendment, I'm quite happy with Councillor Casey's proposal, but be that as it may. Just speaking to it, I've been a member of the advisory group for some time, I think, since its creation. I was on the waste management bylaw with Councillor Newman and I think some others, and I have an abiding interest in waste. I helped drive the strategy originally in the first term of council, and in principle, I think it's highly desirable that councillors that have got an interest and a passion for something be encouraged to engage with it, just as a principle. Why wouldn't you? And frankly, that also applies to local board members, and obviously they'll sort that out amongst themselves. And the same principle applies to Independent Maori Statutory Board.
Any other Councillor Cooper?
Thank you. I won't support this, and it's just because common sense dictates that we have these advisory groups to be a smaller subsection of the committee so that we can actually get stuff done. And this gets up to 16, and the local boards will want equal, which would make it 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, it's just getting a bit untenable. Of course, I'm not going to do my bio, but I am working with the Associate Minister in the Environment through the Waste Advisory Board. So I feel like I do have a space there, but it doesn't. But what I also think is that we've got to get our newer councillors coming through doing this work. That's really critical that they get an opportunity. We can all go around having FOMO about not being on every committee, but we just got to get practical about all of our workloads. We've all got a lot of things to do, and we need to make sure we can attend the things that we put on. And I just think when you've got so many people, it just becomes untenable. The meetings are open. I'm sure people can come along and make suggestions. But at the end of the day, you've got to have some sort of resolution, and trying to wrangle together so many people just starts to look silly. And I'm sure this looks silly, us debating it, all of this online. I won't support it.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I agree, what we're doing does look silly. You're right about that. We all get appointed to committees by the mayor, some of which we're happy to be on, others that we haven't really got any interest on, but we go on because we're appointed. That's the way the game goes. I would have thought it was cause for a degree of celebration that we have people wanting to go on things that they are passionate about, they've got an interest in. Why on earth would you curtail that? And we see it in this instance that actually to give accuracy to the second resolution of the substantive motion, to actually cover the north, given that the chair is a member anyway, you do need another person. And if you are talking about geographic spread, you do need someone in from the east as well. So to actually accurately reflect those words in the substantive, you do need those 6 people in addition to the chair. So the only thing that really needs to change in the amendment, I guess, is, if you're strictly accurate, is reference to the east. So this kind of pettiness really disappoints me. We've got people who want to be part of some of these advisory groups. They're going to make a contribution. We all know that people won't make the meetings at various times. Why would you cut people out? Why would you do that? Or is it just to be the selected few who and there's a degree of favouritism, dare I say it, at times there, where certain people have got the clear run and other people don't even get asked. So let's cut the pettiness, allow the people who want to go on it, let them contribute to these advisory groups that they've got an interest in, And we've just heard from the officers, there's no requirement here to keep upping the local board. We're voting on this today, so we're taking care of the resolutions as we see it, and that happens to be increasing the councillors, so let it rest at that. But I'd urge people to support this and to support geographic spread, actually, to reflect what we said in the substantive. If we don't pass the amendment, we don't actually do that, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Mulholland.
Kia ora, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the staff for the wonderful work. I would like to thank myself for giving up my place on the previous. Thank you. Now, I won't be supporting this, mainly because I feel that I trust and have faith in those councillors whose names were on the board with regards to the original recommendation to undertake a fair, transparent and reasonable duty on behalf of the people in my community. And for that reason, I won't be supporting it, because I do have faith in those councillors to do a good job. I can attend the meetings on behalf of my community. And I also want to question or ask the staff at some stage, Mr. Chair, could they send me, please, a copy of attendance from the previous advisory panels? And I would also like to know exactly why there was a suggestion by Councillor Watson that they were unsuccessful. So here we are debating, this matter. So that's why I won't be supporting that amendment. Kia ora.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Well, yes, I thank myself for not being available as well. But look, to be honest, I think it's great that elected members wish to make themselves available. And thank you, Councillor Casey, because I think your attempt to expand the number to accommodate Councillor Walker and Councillor Stewart in the motion that you moved was the right thing to do. For me, I don't really enjoy this particular work stream in the last term, but it was incredibly pertinent because it affects everyone, and it has a particular effect in certain parts of my ward, given some of the challenges we have around changes to the waste management minimisation plan. And the officers probably reflect on my involvement, and just before there's probably an exotic adjective that gets included before my name, referencing some of my contributions to some of these debates. I really didn't have anything in common with Councillor Hulse in relation to some of these matters, but it made for an interesting discussion, frankly. I think that it would be very helpful, given actually that we have some massive and very expensive challenges in this particular space with voting on these matters coming up in this term. It would be wise to include Councillor Walker and Councillor Stewart, because you will want to try and achieve as broad a consensus as possible. As early as possible, Councillor Walker was involved in the hearings that we had in relation to the plan that went out for consultation last time. He was a good contributor to the discussion. He has an interest in it. I think it's not a bad thing. So I don't really, look, and frankly, the reason why this is getting so big is actually because of the inclusion of the local boards, who weren't there last time. If you were excluding the local boards, actually the numbers aren't that different from where we were last time. I'm not quite sure that the local board representation is essential. You can't have a local board representative who has a view of the South that is wholly shared by the South. They don't have a constituency called the South. They represent one local board. We are regional councillors, so I can understand all points of the compass, I guess. But there will be good representation around the region, and I think that Councillor Stewart and Councillor Walker can contribute to that. So I would regret any outcome today that didn't include them in this, because if they're not included, people will make their own judgments as to why they were not included, and I don't think that's a good way to start this term.
Councillor Casey.
And you'll say that if people want to participate, I'm all for that. Doesn't matter who they are.
just speak last on this one. So this is not personal at all. Councillor Walker now has been appointed to every single working group on a submission or advisory group. Last committee that I had and this one, Councillor Stewart, I asked if she would like to stay on the weeds. My only point is that the advisory groups, in my experience, people don't turn up and we cannot find times to coordinate everyone's diary. My diary is full. I imagine this sits on like a Monday night or a Friday 7 a.m. at this moment. The idea of a smaller political advisory group is to flesh out some of the ideas and things in a small, quick way, with local boards added plus increasing the size quite a bit in this amendment will mean it will be several hours, I believe, longer than expected for these meetings, because to ensure everyone gets the questions and answers they want to, which makes me probably assume this whole thing should just be done at this committee instead of as a political advisory group. So it's not personal at all. I just think the idea of these political advisory groups is to get a quick look. My experience, even on submissions over November, December and things this year, people aren't turning up. For one submission meeting, it was me and the officers and the independent Māori statutory member, I think it was Wilcox maybe. But so my experience is that everyone says this in these meetings and then we just can't coordinate it to get everyone there. So the fewer people together. So that's my point. This is not personal. This is, it's great that people are focused on this, but it's about getting, some say there's heaps of groups and advisory groups that we're all on, as well as all our committees, all our workshops and the other things we have to do as well. And we already know that many councillors don't want us to be holding meetings on Fridays and Mondays in the city, even though many of us are here those days. It just becomes too hard. So it's nothing to do with anything but trying to coordinate something for the staff, especially. It becomes impossible task in my experience. So I won't be supporting this amendment. So I'll have all those in favour of the amendment? Aye. All those against? No. Could I please have a division on the amendment?
Calling for a division, item 10, resolution A, numeral 2 and numeral 3. Councillor Hills,
No.
Councillor Bartley, Councillor Casey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cashmore,
No.
Councillor Coombe, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Darby, Mayor Goff, Councillor Filipina, Councillor Mulholland, Councillor Newman, Councillor Sayers, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Walker, Member Wilcox, Member Wilson, Councillor Watson, Councillor Young,
Thank you. Well, welcome all the new members. Cool. Thank you. And so that goes back
Carried, yeah.
to the, that was carried, and that goes to the substantive. And we need to also add a D for mana whenua representation.
Does Kathy agree? Does Kathy agree?
Oh, does that, Kathy, do you agree that we add mana whenua representation?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. So all those in favour of the sorry. Yes, Councillor Filipina.
Now that it's been included into the substantive, my only comment is I just hope that the people that are there now don't start moaning in about 6 or 7 months' time saying, look, I couldn't make it and everything else. So that's really my comment. I will support it moving forward. Thank you.
And do we have mana whenua representation? Oh, right, sorry. Perfect. So, all those in favour of the aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. On to carried. On to